Fun with my table lamps over here. I got these table lamps, they're not working out so well. I gotta get new table lamps. That sucks. They're not even a year old. They're not even a year old. So dumb. I found my phone. Couldn't find my phone. Oh. Start recharging that. Well, everyone appears. Do, 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 do. Give me a second, folks. I'll be right back. Where'd I leave off? Oh, great. Gotta reboot Photoshop. One second. Cintiq drivers dropped. 1 second. Hey, what's up? It happens. Hey, what's up, Dom? Hey, what's up, John? I'm good. Just trying to wrap this up so I can move on with life. Right? Your stuff's been looking dope. You should come on sometime. Chat. Whenever you get a chance. Saw you on James Race's channel, dude. Pretty dope. Good times. Artists got to stick together. Artists got to stick together. Yeah, I'm always here, man. Always, whenever. I just don't have anything better to do, John. Sad to say. Oh, by the way, John, dude, did you get the, have you seen the, I don't know if you gotta be a fan, right? 90s. The Absolute Wildcats edition? I got mine from In-Stock Trades, dude. They had it like 60% off, man. So I got it for like 60 bucks. I don't buy a ton of books, man, but it's pretty fucking awesome. It's all the Jim Lee stuff. They recolored the first 4 issues, but they actually did a good job on it. I normally don't like those recolors, but they did a pretty good job. It's got all the foldouts from like Wildcats issue 5, all the crazy 8-page foldouts. Slipcase cover. Hardbound sewn. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty fucking awesome book. What would I do? Look, man, I did it. I'm just going to let you know, John, I did it. You know, I had a $60,000 a year job, plus benefits and bonuses, doing t-shirts in 2008, you know. It wasn't my first gig. I was up to be probably an art director. You know, I had the highest selling product at the stores. It was a great studio. And I was doing monstrades at night and got an offer at Play to develop and build an entire comic studio at a $10,000 upfront check. And we were doing comics based off video games that were going to be the next video games. I mean, Play had been around 10 years. And the first thing I found out is it's just not something I would ever do ever again. You know, play aside, I get the game magazine thing didn't work out, but you know, I just don't believe the industry is mature enough. It kind of depends on 20-year-olds, you know, willing to sacrifice. I got to the point, and I wasn't the only one, but it wasn't just like me. I was some weird exception. Everyone that worked at Ape and was doing indie comics and stuff. I mean, I had a few of those guys like Jonathan Suter working at Marvel while they were working at Ape. So what happens is you find out that those contracts only last 3 months, 6 months, you know, and the amount of people that they actually sign to an exclusive 2-year contract are very minimal. They're just minimal. And I believe the whole industry right now isn't working properly. I mean, everyone knows that, but like I've had plenty of talks with these cats, and it's like I feel like, you know, they should be treating their comics like an R&D thing, almost like a write-off. Like, we can develop all these original stories, you know, all these great ideas that are going to make us $1 billion in movies elsewhere. So, like, but they still treat the books based on sales, individual sales, you know? Like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit, you know, because the storylines in those books are what's going to fuel the next $1 billion Black Panther movie, the next fucking $1 billion Infinity War movie, the next... But they just tie them to the sales of the comics, and they do it as a way to keep everyone from earning a fucking decent living. And are some people doing it? Yeah, some people are. You know? And if you look at it, a majority of the people that are doing it are either the guys we grew up with, or, you know, small spurts of new kids or people overseas making less money. And so, like, I think the thing to do, man, you know, is pay your fucking bills, and if you want to draw comics, you know, do it at night. Unless someone's willing to sign you to a 2-year contract, because you don't know if a day job's gonna last 2 years anyway. If they're willing to sign you to a 2-year exclusive contract, great. Other than that, don't do it. I'm telling you, man, you're gonna need your health care, especially in Canada. You guys got health care and shit, man. Like, just fucking, there's no point to it. You know. I got to the point where I couldn't afford to buy a bag of oranges. That's when I learned how to hustle commissions and everything else, you know. I mean, Ape was throwing money down too. Like they were going to build a whole Kevin Grievous universe, you know, and all of that went away and fell apart just because they couldn't get along, you know. And then the thing with the economy hit, and all my work at Play, Death Jr., all those graphic novels went away. My stuff at Image disappeared because my writer refused to write scripts. You know? Like, I don't care what Marvel and DC's. I've worked with both of them, you know, like in licensing, you know what I mean? And I refuse to deal with their comics divisions. And all my friends who work for them, like Ray Height and these guys, like, they do well for a bit and then they don't. You know? And it's like, oh, we don't need you for a while, you know? Well, then, you know, I think the thing to do, man, you know, is just do a small strip. Do something small. You know. Maybe you're just trying to do too much. You know. Play the long card. Like, how much can you do in a year? You know, versus trying to, like... Because I got to tell you right now, man, like, even the cover work I've done for IDW, I'm just basically told, not directly, but basically indirectly, you know, that yeah, that's why I prefer actually talking to you, because I don't like a one-way conversation. Is that, you know, like, my art style just doesn't line up with what they're doing, you know, or anyone really is doing in American comics, you know. Just doesn't make sense. Like I gotta basically draw, you know, Disney style or very production friendly, and it's like they don't pay enough for that, man. You know, no one does. You know, so. But financially, I've probably made 2 gross mistakes in my entire life. One was going to art school, and 2 was letting Josh help me out with my fucking Kickstarters. But if I could pick a third, I mean, definitely well, God, it's hard with the Josh thing and the Kickstarters. Because I only had to do the Kickstarters because of the shit I did at work. So I think the second one would be quitting a salary paid job to go experiment in comic book land, you know? Not for like how I create. You know, like if you and I were like, I mean, like if you were like drawing over CG models, super realistic dudes, it'd be one thing. I got a feeling, man, like having watched a little bit of your process and how you think, you're not going to appreciate a lot of their nonsense, man. You know. Yeah, and I'm an ex-military, so if I had to, I could always go to the VA. You know, I at least have that bonus. But, so that's a big issue. I would say, too, you're not going to be able to save any money. You know? So, like, whatever they're going to pay you, when they pay you, you know? They basically, the way they used to justify paying the low rates in comics was that you'd be able to sell your original artwork, but most of the art now has to be what, drawn in ink by you, and has to feature how many fucking characters, you know, and they need to like appease an editor, so half the books are being drawn digitally, so, you know. Is it because I'm just in the States and where I live? Well, hey, look, man, that always plays a factor, right? Where you live plays a factor. But if you think you're going to have any... Put it this way. One of the things I did not factor in to drawing all day and night for comics was just wrist fatigue. You know what I mean? Like, I found that there are limits to that. You don't... How often are you really drawing all day? Doing the same thing. By the way, you're going to have to do the same thing all the time. Right. Well, drawing for comics isn't drawing for you, though, right? It's production art. Drawing for you is drawing your own comics. There is no... You remind me, seriously, that this is exactly where I was 8 years ago. You know, or 6 years ago especially, you know, but back in, you know. It's anytime someone pays you, it's not your shit, right? I think at the end of the day, it's just that simple. Someone has to sign off on it and give it the okay. You know. So if it's drawing for me, I just think like because you and I, man, like we have all these ideas and we want to see them happen, right? And then the minute you're like bogged down in 8 hours of drawing one page and you can only draw for 2 hours a night after you come home, you feel this sense of, oh, fudge, you know? My way around it right now, you know, has been to develop the visual novel stuff, so I'm drawing less. Draw less. Just draw less, John. Draw a 4-page comic strip, do a 5-panel comic strip, and make one of those panels all text. So you're drawing 4 panels. You know, can you stick with it? Do one a week. Who cares? You know? Tell less story. Do minimal stuff. Find other ways around it. Like develop a different audience. I mean, the audience we have now are you guys are they're fucking awesome. But also develop things that, you know, the idea of the I mean, look at the comics, dude. There's a lot of great artists out, but look at the comics. I mean, these aren't the comics that remember when we used to open up books and it was like some artist threw down. It was like IMAX, you know, comic books every fucking month, man. You know, that isn't there anymore. There's no money or time for that. No one's becoming a millionaire. No one's making millions drawing comics anymore. If they make any money, it's that they had an IP that they were able to sell, right? And get like a movie deal or something like that. Short of that, you know, winning the lotto-like scenario, all you can do right now is develop a fan base that's invested in you creating your ideas. Your take on it. I could never get this version of Power Stone approved by Capcom. Never. You know, the only reason why this even gets through is because the guys at Megavisions, you know, like, just let me do whatever I'm going to do. And that was part of the deal. And I get to use it for game caves. So I'm actually drawing game caves. 2 for 1. But, like, it's okay to do less, you know, but just be consistent, you know. But man, that whole, like, you know what it was like to, like, turn stuff in and you don't hear back from them for 2 days and then they're like, oh, we need this, you know, page, you know, we need changes. I got changes on comic book covers a year later, dude. They hadn't published for a year. Like, what? A year? Changes. It's from Japan. I'm like, what, did you get on a boat? Row there, you know what I mean? Like, take the scrolls back and shit? Like, even Capullo, those guys admit if they had to break into comics today, they would never have gotten in the way they got in. You know? It's just a different... The game has changed. And they go, see, just keep drawing, people. It's not impossible. I'm like, yeah. Hey, man, if Mark Millar wants to hire you to do a miniseries, take a leave of absence. You know? It's probably a smart move. Yeah, draw your comics. Buy a house drawing HUDs, bro. You know what I mean? Like, because people are going to need fucking HUDs 10 years from now. I don't think that business is going away. And use that fucking money, you know? Just draw less stuff. Be consistent. Sell your things. Package it. Put more words in the art. You know what I mean? I mean, look, if you have a serious need to see your name on a Batman book, give it a shot. Every artist I know that's done it, every artist that I personally know, not like people I know of on the internet, that has gone that route, eventually, after a year or so, they don't need you anymore, and they have to go right back to doing commissions and everything else. You know? It's just the way business is. I mean, how many artists are on books for 5 years? Fucking 5 months, you know? Very few. Very few. And I just believe image is the reason why. You know, you want my opinion on it. But I mean, like right now I'm doing 4 hours a day freelance with clients, you know, and then 4 hours of stuff. You know, and I'm supposed to be writing 2 hours a night, but right now I'm just, past week I've been on this 10-hour work schedule, like, so I'm just developing that. Almost there. But it means that I got to do less. You know, that never changes. Even if I worked 8 hours a day, came home and drew, you know, for 2 or 3 hours, nothing changes, you know, like, I just would do less. It's just irresponsible. Like, I know everyone goes, oh, you know, follow the dream. And I'm like, follow the dream. Hey, follow it. Give it a shot. I mean, if you really want to do it. But understand the world doesn't. It's just the game isn't what we thought it was when we were kids, man. It wasn't really that when we were kids anyway. I mean, out of all the dudes that I met that were successful, the most weren't, you know? Well, someone went back to getting a regular job. Like Roman Morales III just passed away. Roman Morales III was the artist on Lynch Mob at Chaos Comics. I met the whole Chaos crew. I'd already been a fan of Evil Ernie, but when they had formed Chaos Comics, there was a comic book shop in La Mesa called Good Guys, Bad Guys. And they had this art contest that, you know, if you design a character, they'll appear in one of their books. And so I, you know, drew this alien character called Arturo. It's kind of based off of Native American stuff. And I got like second place. But I go down to the comic shop and all the crew was there to promote, you know, the launch of Chaos Comics. And to, you know, grade the character designs and everything. And Brian Pulido was there, and the guy who did the Super Frog book and was their colorist, and Pulido's, you know, girlfriend, now wife. And Roman Morales III was there. Roman was a hell of a good big dude, former Marine, hell of an artist. You know, but they were right at the boom, and they, you know, that didn't work out, and Roman had to go back to being a cop. You know. The thing is, they give up drawing, which is just a bad idea. Maybe the question is, how do I switch the job? It might, but most of the doors Marvel and DC open to are to licensing, like style guide art. Like my buddy Diego, that used to be my colorist, you know, he got coloring work over at Marvel DC, and now he makes the majority of his money at IDW back with the guys that we started working with and doing licensing art for like toy packaging for like the DC stuff. And believe me, if you think that shit's creative, you know, it's no different. The problem is we see the 3% of people. Look, let me tell you how you're going to make a name for yourself these days, man. You think Ryan Otley would have gotten an option to draw Spider-Man, you know, having not done, you know, Invincible? They would put him on a kid's book. Sad to say, dude, and I've talked to Ryan about it a couple times, you know, and he goes, well, you know, like before, wait, years and years ago, like 8 years ago. But like, his art style is considered cartoony. He's only able to draw the book now because of the success he's had at Invincible. They put Roger Cruz in all the Marvel Adventures books, you know. And then what you'll probably see, if I had to make a bet, over the course of whatever he does, you're going to see more and more realism come into the art. It'll look more and more like the movies as they go along. DC seems to be less interested in that, but at the end of the day, you know, like they're just not how many people are staying on books for a year? 2 years, 3 years? Seems to be a lot of rotating creatives. So what are you doing in between? What other jobs are there to get? You know? But hey, I personally never had a love for Marvel or DC, so, you know. But I mean, you're a talented dude, no doubt. But we're also like, you know, we're also sensitive. We're all sensitive, right? We got feelings and shit. Comics, it's a mean industry, man. I can't get one guy at IDW to let me draw Sonic or Turtles, you know? My art's too aggressive or not aggressive enough. I don't fucking know. Whatever it is. Maybe I'm just not hobnobbing enough. It's possible. That's possible. But I had them all telling me, "We Rob, you gotta pay your dues, man." You know? And it really ruined a lot of financial stuff for me that I'm just coming out of now. That whole, like, personally, my feelings are, you don't have to agree with this or not agree with it. My personal feeling is when someone says, well, you know, what do you want to be doing 5 years from now? Fuck, we don't even know if there's going to be an Earth 5 years from now, you know? That's true. Nuclear winter could befall you. And you go, well, that's a good time to start my dream. Possibly, you know? What is your dream? I think that's the real question. Is your dream to draw for Marvel and DC? If that's the case, I'm never going to stand in the way of someone doing that. If your dream is to get your visions and ideas to come to life and to get to people to see who you are as an artist, that's something completely different. You know? Some guys in comics pull it off. Most don't. You know? Most get told, you know, what to do. Or they're just tracing over models or redrawing photos to meet crazy deadlines. You know? Crazy. We need, you know, 4 pages 2 weeks from now, or a week from now, you know, 5 days over the weekend. That's the question you have to ask yourself. And I just see you doing like tons of art. Like you did that art style. John, you did that art style that was kind of Mignolish like a few months back. You know, I just see you trying to find yourself. Like you're, you know, now you're doing this style and that. Like you're just expressing yourself, trying to find different things, you know. And it's like, do that. Just keep doing, you know, like do a mini comic in each style. Whatever you want to do. Find a thing. I don't think you fully know who you are yet as an artist. I don't know who I am as an artist yet, you know. I only now can create things that look like how they do in my head, you know? I know this, that my art has never lined up with what is done in comics, you know? The image was always like the prospect, the promise that you could do whatever, you know? And that there'd be some great financial reward, but nowadays some people get it, but, you know, most don't. It's always going to be work, man. Right? It's always going to be work. Yeah. And by the way, you know, like, yeah, well, it's, oh, look, my wife gives me the same thing. Oh, you're going back and forth with this. And that's because, man, like, most people's jobs don't define who they are as a people. What they do after their job defines who they are as a people. That's most people's lives. We're going to be creative no matter what we do, right? But, like, we got to be compensated on some level. And, like, most comics, 80% of it is done at a level which you're not being compensated for your efforts. You're being rewarded with the fact that you get to look at something and see your dream come true. My dream came true, man. I worked for a video game magazine as the artist, which I was told was a job doesn't even fucking exist, and they were right. I mean, when I used to see those covers for PlayStation Magazine, I mean, Joe Mad wasn't their cover artist. They were just commissioning a cover from Joe Mad. But for some reason in my head, I thought that was like a job. You know? And somehow I managed to make it happen. And then it went away. So I realized dreams come and go, dude. There's different versions of dreams, right? Yeah, they were awesome, you know? Me doing this kind of stuff is really just me trying to do that, you know? And put my own stamp on it without recreating those covers or that artwork, you know? But what I have to do, you know, what I've had to do mentally is go, look, you know, I have to be responsible. I have a mortgage, you know? I want to keep my home. I want to put some money in savings. So some level of freelance is going to happen. My freelance at this point is 1 part luck, 1 part connections. And half my freelance is t-shirt work. I do t-shirt work on the side. I will never show it, you know, but I can do it super fast. And because I've been doing it for 15 years now, right? How long? 13 years. I can do t-shirts very, very fast. T-shirts that are at Walmart, not t-shirts online, but professional, whatever. And that means in like 3 hours, I can generate enough money, you know, for a week's worth of efforts, you know. My other freelance is random luck, like the stuff with the game company, you know, like concept art for them. But it's contract work. It's gonna come and then it will stop, and then a year later it'll come back. When that stops, then the commissions come in. And I've had to build that commission base up. But the commissions are where I get to experiment with my art. I get to do color pencils, I get to do watercolor, you know. And then the other half is my own art. In this case, it's the power prints to finish that thing up, and then Game Cave full time, you know. And then I get to have a couple hours a day to write. But if I had to spend 8 hours a day at a job, and I came home, what I would do, and this is how I've always done it, is I would get 5 to 6 hours of sleep during the week, and I would sleep in for about 10 to 12 hours on Saturday. You know? And I would do whatever I can to to increase my health. And that's what I did. I've always been I was always like a 180 guy. And then I got up to like 250, 260. And I had to get my weight down so that I'd have more energy, you know? And that took a year, almost 2 years, just through diet to do that. But like, that's it. There's no magic. I have never been able to find some magical formula, you know, like some work schedule I get bursts, right? And then I want consistency. So consistency, small bursts. So I'm thinking like every other month I would pull some crazy fucking amount of hours, and then I would crash a little bit for a week. And you know, there's like these little bursts. But I would just do less. I tried doing freelance when I'd come home. That was a mistake. Never should have done freelance when I came home from the day job. Should have only been doing my own art. Not even commissions if I didn't want to, you know? Just my own art. If I want to draw a pin-up of Wolverine, I'll put the Wolverine up in my store. You know? You could do a bunch of little mini comics like your Jessup King in small little bits and then put it all in an art book. It doesn't have to be a Jessup King book. It could just be the art book of Jonathan Rector. You know? And then you never know, 5 years later, that art book might end up in the hands of an art director that hires you. You need that random luck thing. And they got to be able to see how you think. Because when they can see how you think, they know what you can bring to the table. They already have a bunch of people who can create their own shit. And then when you get there, you got to try your best to appease them without completely becoming whatever they have on board, right? That's the other fucking battle. Like when someone hires you for your original visions, they hire you for that. But then when you come on board, you got to then also fulfill what they're currently doing. Well, then adding what you do. And by the way, that's going to cut into your own personal stuff. It never ends, man. I think if people can see how you think, then that's the best, for an artist, that's the best insurance you have long term. Because, you know, that day job can go away. The studio could close. They could get bought out. But like anything else, man, when you're making your own stuff, that means there isn't a pre-built, there isn't some, it's harder to get a continuous following for that, you know? You're less likely to get a bunch of blog posts right away. It's gonna take, it could take years. It's the time in game. But then, you know, the upshot is, you win the lotto, you win the lotto. Repackage your art. There's so many things we can do, man. It's going well. I got a bunch of revisions I got to do today on some stuff, like anything else, you know. But the project looks great, you know. A lot of talent, you know. A lot of talent on board. I mean, like anything else, you know, when you're designing for production, everything you put on a character matters, you know. It has to be model, you have to think about the time and production per model, and so the hard part is finding a way to be creative in that. Like they had me do something, they have me do a series of things. You do like 3 or 4 things at a time, you know, keeps you busy. But like I did, you know, I get to a point where sometimes I'm drawing certain things and I'm like, I don't know how far I can go, you know, because like I started doing like my own thing for a while, and they're like, this looks great, but this doesn't look like what we're doing, and you know, so it's like knowing when to put on your spin and when not to is a little tricky. But they've been super positive. They're not like, you dick, you know. It's just you can waste 4 hours. So like the trick is like figuring out, you know, how much time to spend. And but like what I'm doing now is like something that I just developed while I was working with them. Was I just need a quicker way of drawing. So like drawing at the 75% opacity, you know, and then erasing at 75%, you know, and keeping all those little bits and shit in there, like just sped up my time, you know. So I've been able to try to like do that, and then I've had to learn like, you know, I had to like, what do they call that? Production rendering, you know, like soft surfaces, hard surfaces, you know. It's a lot of stuff. And most of these guys are like, that's all they do, right? So they're like super good at it. It's actually not something that I normally do, so, but they like how I think, so then the guys over there see what I normally do, and they're like, how the fuck do you spend all that time drawing that, like, 800 fucking things? And I'm like, well, you know, they're not used to that. You know. So I'm like, well, So I spent a lot of weeks just like practicing. You know, while I was working, I was spending a lot of hours. I spent too many. I was doing close to 90 hours a week for like 3 months. So that was a little much. Yeah, but you know, you're constantly like every little thing. Every little thing matters. But everything's good, man. Just consistency right now is my more important thing, you know? I think right now, if I had any complaint, it would just be that on the weekends I'm sleeping in a little much. You know? A little much. A little too much. So... But I'm super excited, like, for my own stuff, too, you know? Like, I don't know where it'll lead. But I'd rather see my ideas come to life, you know, than my version of Batman. You know? Hey, man, I'd love the paycheck, but the odds of me getting that paycheck, the Sean Gordon Murphy money, is next to none, you know? There's a lot of things Sean had to do before he got to that, you know. So I focus on what I'm good at this point, you know. Well, I definitely have to fucking become a different kind of inker, that's for certain. That guy's always been super talented. I just think, like, you know, like, people forget, like, I mean, I've been following him since 2003? 3 or 4 on the Shane Glines board. There was this thing called the Shane Glines illustration board. It was a board in which it was like a lot of industry dudes were posting there, so... Scotty Young, when he was brand new, was posting there. Mark Brooks. I mean, everyone. Chamba. Like, okay, not Chamba. Sean Galloway, before he was big, yeah. The Shane Glines board. So, like, the first thing he ever posted on there was some small little thing he did. that ended up in Dark Horse Presents. Yeah, eat poo. This is a fun board, man. Cameron Stewart used to moderate that board. A lot of talent on that board, man. You know? A lot of talent on that board. Dude was super talented then. But he definitely had more of a cartoonier style, right? You're just going to have to get super fast. And you have to ink your own work, if possible. Or directly color your own. These days, it's mostly color your own work. They don't even want inks. Half of them, you know? And then you gotta get lucky. You know? You gotta get a little lucky. I have a personal philosophy after my dad died and my mom died. It's this. I make the kind of art I want to get paid to create, you know? Because I'm the one who's stuck making this stuff for hours on end. You know? And it's a big world out there, and I can market my art wherever I need to. You know? That's kind of the bigger issue. Now, I'd still do that t-shirt shit, but that's just because I'd be kind of stupid not to. You know? Like, the amount I can do for very little effort on my end, because I have 13 years of experience. You know, why short my change myself? So all that t-shirt money goes to house upgrades and new furniture and savings and 401ks and stuff like that, you know? Because I'm not going to be stupid. For every Sean Gordon Murphy, there's 50 other cats that are working their asses off getting nowhere, you know? We just see the success stories, right? Well, like I said, man, you can give me a call on Skype if you ever just want to vent about it, you know? I'm here. Because I've been there. You know? And, you know, it might be the right thing to do. It's kind of hard to tell without the circumstances, you know? Which those conversations aren't always best to have here. You know? I think there was some study, but the average comic book artist makes about $12,000 to $23,000 a year. And I'd say that sounds about right. That includes them. Not everyone at Marvel and DC is on a 2-year, $120,000 contract. They're doing a fill-in issue, maybe 3 here. You know, possibility of continuing with sales. You know, a few variant covers. And then they're having to find other stuff to do in between. And they're having to do more. Half of them are having to color their own work or definitely ink their own work. Which, you know, look at how Capullo draws. You know, like that's how comics used to get done. Rough pencils. Inker finishes it. Think Jim Lee was fucking drawing and inking his own books? The shit wasn't getting done on time as it was. Those days are gone. Now we got to do everything. And a lot of artists aren't. I mean, you really think most artists are good inkers or should be, you know? Like, it's like we just had to because the business models changed, you know? And by the way, they don't have to change. Those two big companies make more than enough money with other shit to supplement that stuff. That's what I don't understand, you know? That's why movie studios make... You think Oscar movies make their money back? They don't. They always lose money. But those Oscar movies you know, generate all this credibility that turns into other stuff, and then the big movies fund, the big blockbuster movies fund the Oscar movies, you know, which gives them credibility, which then turns into make the blockbuster. Why comics aren't treated the same way with these publishers, I'll never understand. You know, why don't they go, look, we're going to pay everyone a certain amount, we're going to develop the best fucking ideas, and these things are going to be our idea machine for the next 100, 200 years. You know? They go, well, we're going to base it off sales. It's like, sales? You're going to see a steady decline in ideas and creation, and that's exactly what's happened. That's why there's no new characters. You know? Most of the talent pools are going to leave for other jobs. Remember, Andy Park used to be the big Top Cow artist, right? Now look where he makes his money. Marvel movies. Stephen Platt left for the same reason. You know? Well, that guy's got other issues, but, you know. It goes on and on and on. The Liquid dudes over at Blizzard. Trenzanuga, or Kanuga, whatever, makes his name over at Blizzard. I've done 9 Kickstarters. Here's my advice on Kickstarter. Put up something that's already done. You can add 1 or 2 extra things to a stretch goal, but other than that, put up things that are done, that you're trying to get into the hands of people. So like printing books, great. Living off it, not so much great. You know, it's not there. That's why people go, well, that's why you got the Patreon. Yeah, well, there's only so many fucking people who can afford monthly bills for everything, right? Like, I think there's obviously, I think I subscribe to Patreons. I pay monthly for stuff, but there's only so much, right? So like, it needs to be things that, you know, these are all just supplemental things, little bits. I think Kickstarter, to me, is exactly what I've always felt it is. It's a publishing platform. It means you can go there and publish something, and basically it's the new direct-to-mail. You can get people on board and then ship them your stuff. But you got to do the shipping. You got to do all that, you know, indie stuff, which I enjoy. Like that scene in Chase. Remember Chasing Amy where all the girls were sitting around mailing off books and shit? There you go. And then when things are complete, you take those books to Image or some other fucking publisher and try and get them to publish it, you know? Mainstream. So every year, you know, you could do the art of fucking Jessup King or Jonathan Rector. You could do a 24-page Jessup King book that's 12 pages of fucking art and 24 pages of weird haiku, man. You know? You know, like, you'll get things published. Self-publish. You know? But there is no one-all thing, right? I mean, it'll always be a part of my life, you know? As long as dad or whatever else. Man, just make the most original shit you can make, dude. You know? There's no fucking reason, John, dude. You got so much fucking talent. There's no fucking reason why they can't find something you did and you can't get a job being the fucking, you know, character designer of some fucking cartoon thing, you know, that lasts couple years, that networks you into something else. I mean, there's always something, dude. You know? But none of these things occur overnight. You know? You can't change your life overnight. You know, I think you're way faster at drawing than I am. That's for goddamn certain. I'm probably the slowest dude I know. You know? But, I mean, you got a grip of talent. You, Ashley. And look, I know how to pick the winners, bro. When I was at 8, it was Ray Height and, what's her fate? Oh, I'm brain farting right now. I'm brain farting. She drew the Vertigo book. She's a fucking amazing artist. Why am I brain farting? Yeah. What's her name? Damn it. God damn it. I take the Miyamoto approach to speed. You know, no one remembers a late game. They only remember bad ones. You know? That's how I think about it. It's easy to build consistency, though, when you can control the output, right? You can control how it looks, how you're drawing, because you're able to build comfortability. That gets a lot more difficult when everyone has a say in the end result. You ever hate when you're trying to find an artist and all you can do is turn up your own artwork? You're like, no, not my artwork. I need the other fucking artist. Why am I forgetting her fucking name, dude? God damn it. Oh, she's an amazing artist. Just can't remember her name. I'll tell you, man, it's not a good sign. As you get older, you're like, huh, I'm friends with this person. No, that's a dude. Ashley Wood's the guy, man. He got that big push at Play too when Metroid Prime came out. Dave had him on that book. No, Ashley Wood's the guy, man. Yeah, my first advice when you go to cons is always read their name badges. Megan Hetrick, thank you. They were both at Ape when I first started. Duh. I'm just brain farting, guys. Like, it happens. She used to look at my art and go, I feel sorry for the colorist. I felt bad because I had done an interview. I had her on the podcast, the old podcast. Once did a whole interview with her and shit. It was pretty fucking awesome. But at the time, I was recording my podcast on this other software that was capturing both audios in separate channels, and so it captured her audio but not mine. I know it was my audio but not hers. It was one or the other. I can't remember. So you couldn't understand what the fuck we were talking about, and I think I pissed her off. Personally, I'm horrible with names. Oh, shucks, I forgot. Forgot to add the little tag. Take care, John. Always a good time. Peace. Goddamn PSP version. Alrighty. Two more things and I can move on with life, right? All right, I'm going to wrap up these last two things offline because I want to watch some podcasts and stretch my legs. I'll be back on tomorrow doing flats. So it's a good place to leave it. I'll post up the remainder of this on the 60-second podcast on the Instagram channel. So tomorrow it's going to take me probably 3 or 4 hours to get all the flats done. So fun there. But all right, everybody. It's been good times. See you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, make some coffee. Time for coffee. It's coffee time.